Edward Hopper was born February 17th, 1816 in New York City. He grew up the son of a merchant, but he wanted to become a minister. He went to school, graduated from Union Theological Seminary in 1842, and was ordained to the ministry. On November 18th, he married Margaretta Wheeler. Well, in 1870, after different appointments, Edward was appointed pastor of a congregation known as the Church of the Sea and Land in New York City, which had been established some 4 years before. Now, this church was located in New York within walking distance of the New York Harbor, and especially this church ministered to sailors and their families. Hopper would stay there the rest of his days as a pastor to the men of the sea. Hopper was described as a humble and gentle man who cared for those who came and went by sea, which souls were often characterized as rough and a sinful breed of men. Just as the Savior taught those he loved using imagery that they would so understand, so too with those who love others in his name. About 1870, Edward Hopper wrote a poem drawing powerfully on images that every sailor of the time would understand. It came to be titled, Jesus, Savior, Pilot Me. What's interesting about that hymn, and of course it makes sense, but Dr. Hopper shared it anonymously with the world. He took no credit. It was published in 1871 in the Sailor's Magazine. Shortly after, it was set to music by John Gould and began to make its way into the hymnals of different churches. But no one at the time knew that the humble pastor of the Sailors' Church in New York was the author of that until 1880. It is reported that the Seamen's Friend Society of New York invited Edward Hopper to come and speak and share a new hymn for their anniversary celebration. Well, Hopper fulfilled the appointment, but rather than write a new hymn, he produced Jesus, Savior, Pilot Me. And finally, at long last, the secret was made known. He was the one who wrote it. Hopper is reported to have said of this hymn, "Happy is the man who can produce one song which the world will keep singing after its author shall have passed away." End of quote. Well, I think Edward Hopper would be pleased today to know that this powerful hymn, Jesus, Savior, Pilot Me, has swept across the Christian denominations and has been published in more than 1,143 hymnals. And of the imagery of a pilot of the sea. Today in seaports all over the world, the largest of ships crewed by the most experienced of seamen are still brought safely to port by the pilot. As one former seaman described it, in maritime law, a pilot is a person who assumes responsibility for a vessel from a particular geographic point for the purpose of navigating the ship through a river or channel to a particular point or place. When this pilot comes aboard, everyone on board is in his hands. He said, "We placed our security and safety in his capabilities. This isn't a position you can just assume. There are qualifications for a ship's pilot license. The pilot must exhibit skill in all areas relating to providing a safe passage within his assigned area. A pilot must have the highest degree of skill as a sailor." End of quote. And thus it is, my dear friends, with the Savior of all mankind. No one is more skilled and experienced to pilot us over life's tempestuous sea. End of quote.